White mold is different from early blight. There are little fungal fruiting bodies. They look like little mushrooms almost. They're orange and they can be in the soil, and they'll eject these spores. And the plant flowers are really good at catching those spores. Then when the flowers die and fall off in the ground, the fungus starts to grow, and it will just grow directly from those dead blossoms onto the plant. And we found that it also can do that on leaf tissue which falls to the ground. So when we talk about white mold, we're really concerned about what we call plant trash, or dead tissue on the ground. So as that begins to fall, which with the Burbank crop in southern Idaho is usually about a week after row closure. If we look down the canopy, see we have these dead leaves that have fallen down on these plants. And back over here, we have an example of one where white mold has started. And this is a textbook example of a white mold lesion. And the plant above it obviously will die. And it will produce small sclerotia, which will fall back into the soil, and that becomes the source of the disease the next year. And there's another white mold lesion. It was right on top of that. And here's some more down at the bottom of the canopy. Fortunately, the fungicides that we apply to manage early blight, or at least the most common ones, which are SDHI fungicides, they tend to be active against both early blight and white mold. So when growers come out around the time of row closure to make a protectant fungicide application, they really are protecting against both diseases. And in specific, the fungicides that have been most effective for us have been boscalid, which is labeled as Endura, and then the fluopyram plus pyrimethanol, which is Luna Tranquility. We have had issues of the Alternaria solani populations becoming resistant or insensitive to boscalid. And so the Endura has not performed as well for us on early blight as of late. It is still effective against white mold, but the Luna Tranquility right now has been very, very effective against early blight. There are also some newer fungicides that have come along. BASF has developed a product called Provosol, which is a totally different mode of action. It's not an SDHI fungicide, but rather it's a triazole. It is also highly effective against the early blight, but not effective against the white mold. And then Syngenta has a product called Miravis Prime, which it is an SDHI fungicide, but it's also mixed with a product called Fludioxonil. And both of those are active against early blight, and they show good activity on white mold. So there are options out there, but because there's so few modes of action, it's important, very important, that when growers use these, that they practice good resistance management strategies. So we recommend that when they're using these fungicides that are active against early blight and white mold, to mix in a broad spectrum protectant fungicide, like a chlorothalonil or a mancozeb-based spray. These also have activity against early blight, and so you're adding another mode of action into the tank. But they're also active against late blight. And the products I mentioned earlier, they are not active against late blight. So by adding in that protectant fungicide, you're able to, one, practice good resistance management strategies, and also offer protection against late blight. So it is a win-win situation. It's important that growers preserve these chemistries as long as they can, because there's not a lot of new ones coming, and the ones that are coming often are in the same fungicide class as the ones we already have. So we have to preserve their longevity and be good stewards of their use.